Alright, what's up YouTube? So today I'm going to be making a coat rack for our house that sits right over the fridge, and on the other side is going to be a little rack for all our utensils.
For this project I'm going to be using poplar. I'll start by just squaring one end of the board. I'll measure out my lengths and make crosscuts with the miter saw. Once everything's cut to length, I can go over to the table saw and start ripping down the boards. I'll run each board through, taking off the width of the saw blade to ensure the board is parallel. I'll then rip the boards to their final dimensions. Next I'll plane down the two top rails to a 1/2 inch.
Look what I just did. Brand new box of nails. All over the floor. Why did I put all my nails there? Different package of nails. All over the ground. Alright. Take two. I just cleaned up that whole box over there. Now I'll clean up these ones too, I guess.
I'll look down the edge of the board to see which side is straighter before running it through the table saw. Here I'm making a 3/4 inch square, which I'll take over to my router to use a 3/8 round over bit on all four sides to make a 3/4 inch dowel. I'll now change it over to a straight bit. I'll set the fence so I take a 1/2 inch of material, and I'll use the board that's a 1/2 inch tall to set the height to a 1/2 inch. I'll mark out where I'm going to cut the grooves in the back of the coat rack. I'll mark a line on the router fence so I know when to stop cutting. This way, I can feed the board into the router until it hits the stop block and I'll know where to stop. I'll stop the other side once I get to the line. I'll do this for the left and right side of the coat rack. Then, I'll set up my stop on the other side and do it again. I'll clamp the piece down in my workmate and then chisel the edges to make it nice and square. I'll now use a digital protractor to set my table saw blade to 15 degrees. Here I'm making a simple drill guide to make sure that all of my holes are at the same angle for the coat pegs. I'll drill the hole so it's square with the angle. I'll now lay out the coat rack to make sure all the pegs are properly aligned. I'll mark the center of the drill guide so I can line it up properly every time. I'd originally intended on using a Forstner bit for this, but a spade bit actually worked better because it was longer and was easier to keep aligned with the hole. I'll use electrical tape to mark the proper depth. I cut the drill guide so that it sits flush with the back side to keep each hole the same distance from the top. I can now start drilling. Whoops!
Well, I screwed up here a little bit because This is the top, and when I stick the dowel in, it faces down, so coats aren't really going to hang on that. I think I'm going to try and drill the hole the other way. Is I'm going to cut a piece of dowel, just like that. I'm going to mark it here. I'm going to cut that off and glue it in and try from the other side. And luckily you won't be able to see most of it because it's going to be hidden when the pin's going the other way, when the dowel's going the other way. So first I'll just go cut this in the bandsaw. This should fit right in there. It does. So I'll just glue that in. There we go.
While that's drying, I'll drill the other 4 holes, and then wait a little while before drilling the 5th one. I'll use my disc sander to smooth out where I glued in the small piece of dowel. And then I'll drill it out.
It's not great, but it could be a lot worse.
Now I'll set up a stop at 3.5 inches to cut out all the coat pegs. I'll use my disc sander to put a slight chamfer on the edge of each dowel. Now I'll sand all the parts to make them nice and smooth. I like to put a piece of drawer liner down when I'm sanding to keep any of my parts from getting scratched. I'll now use my router to run an 1/8 inch chamfer around the front and back pieces. I'll lightly hand sand around the chamfer to break any edges and get rid of any imperfections. I'll now countersink on the back of the coat rack from where the front of the spade bit poked through. I'll now hold the dowels in place and pre-drill through the back of the coat rack to make sure that they don't split when I put a screw in them. I'll use some glue and a screw to hold the pegs in place. I'll do this for all 5 pegs. I'll lay out and drill 5 holes in the back piece for the hooks. I can screw the hooks most of the way in by hand and then use a pair of channel locks to finish them off. I'll use an automatic center punch to put a divot in the wood for where I'm going to pre-drill some holes. I'll now use a countersink bit to drill them out, drilling on a slight angle so the screw sucks the wood into the joint. I'll add some glue and put 2 screws in each top rail. Then I'll repeat for all 4 joints. I'll then lightly sand the top. And it's all done. I'm really happy with how this coat rack came out. I used just a little bit of wax for finish by rubbing it on with a rag. Let me know what you thought of this project in the comments, and if you like videos like this, give it a like, and be sure to subscribe for more weekly content. Thanks for watching.